Okay, hello everybody. This is Raz, and I'm going to be doing a VOD review of World Elite versus OMG Game 1. Alright, so both these teams I think are looking pretty decent. I think OMG and probably not so much. They're probably going to be struggling to get last place in their in playoffs, the last spot. World Elites I think is pretty decent. I think they're a good team right now. I'm not too sure where that will take them, but we'll see. Okay, for now we'll start with the pick bans. Um, so of course we're elite. They decided to they're just gonna ban like target ban. So thrash banned away from five. Good ban. I think five is like a pretty key thrash player. Um, so let's see. Thrash, Kindred's down. Twisted Fate. Okay, they don't want to deal with Twisted Fate from Cool. Nidalee is down, so of course, like Kindred, Nidalee, those two bans are something quite honestly you want to take away from first pick. So that's pretty much tasked from OMG, unless of course, like for instance, if there are some junglers out there, some teams who are comfortable playing into Kindred, um, with let's say Lee Sin or Elise even, like it just for a very specific comp. And as you can see, that like OMG has picked uh, they have picked an Elise quite often, so that's available to them. But I guess they want to. The Nidalee is completely understandable. The Kindred, you can do that. So, anyways, going forward with it, you have Azir and Rise Band. Now, what that Rise Band ends up doing is it opens up an Echo pick, so you can actually pick Echo freely. Um, the benefit of Echo is that, of course, you can flex the pick, but the benefit of Rise is that you can also flex that pick, and it's a direct counter to Echo in top and mid. So it's actually just worse to put a mid lane against a mid lane Rise. So okay, so take that away and you unlock your options top side. What the Abzir ban does though, of course, is that it opens up a Victor pick. So some teams will look at that and be like, oh, well, we have ourselves a free first pick Victor. But I think Victor's not that strong. I think like Victor's strong as a control mage, but in the end of the day, he's a control mage, and you can play around that in a lot of different ways. So let's see what World Elite does. Because one of these teams are going to be deprived of one of the two. So immediately we see um, a first pick Lucian. Lucian's a power pick at the moment. Really strong team fights, really strong laner. You can play around him though, so it's just a good comfort pick. And on top of that, I think they're free counter picking into top and mid. Like, doesn't really matter what these teams pick at this point. Other than actually Rek'Sai, yeah, I was about to say. So Rek'Sai's open. I wonder what Worldly's gonna do because actually I would rather have a first pick Rek'Sai. Like first pick Rek'Sai, first pick Lucian, either work really, but I think there are more AD carry options than there are even jungle options. Like for instance, I think like yeah, sure Rek'Sai, you get Rek'Sai pick and you can say, well, we have Elise, but I think later on in the game, Elise just gets outpaced by Rek'Sai. Right, maybe Elise can like do a lot more early on in the game, and maybe that's the way you want to play out the game, but uh, you don't want to face a Rek'Sai later on in the game, and a Rek'Sai early game can just pretty much avoid and ward out lanes against an Elise, so it'll be difficult. They get the Bard first pick, which makes sense for 5. 5 pretty much just wants to is just a playmaking support, so that's just his style. So World League goes with the first pick. They go with the Maokai and Trundle. If they do this right now, then Trundle has to go support, of course. There we go. Unless, of course, if your name is Bryce E. Jim Paul and you're the Maokai specialist, then you um, okay, so okay, this is really strong. Of course, that opens up an Echo pick from OMG and a bot lane Braum. But they go for a Fizz pick. Fizz is also really good against in this situation. It's good into Maokai, and at the same time you can actually flex that. So this could be a mid Fizz as well. I think Cool has played that, so. And it's a Caitlyn, so that really just. Oh yeah, what I said, Braum. There's a Bard in this game, so it's fine. It works too. So Caitlyn Bard is a really strong lane, and I think we should just pretty much after this setup, once they lock these two picks in. Okay, so they locked them in. So immediately just look at the World Elite's composition. We see Lucian and Trundle bot lane. That's fine, but I think they'll get pushed in 100% by Caitlyn Bard. You don't want to lane against that. Then you have Fizz versus Maokai. So already we have two pushing side lanes. That's all. That's pretty bad for World Elite. But World Elite, they can deal with this. They want, like, if they can get past this point, if they swap, then A, they get past the lanes, and B, I think they have the stronger five. Like they 100% have the stronger five. They didn't end up going for Graves, so it feels as if that's what they've already telegraphed that they're going in for a lane swap. Like if you're going in for an elite, if you pick an elite, then you pick for the lane, right? You're saying, okay, these are our lanes. We're going to look to match. If you pick the Graves, then you're saying, well, I'm not going to have much impact. I'm going to be actually farming out the beginning portions of the game, and that's how we want to play it. So this is a pretty big red sign of, hey, we want a lane swap. And if they don't, then it's good for like OMG should just win out, literally just based off the lanes alone. I don't like Graves in this meta, but it works if you can farm up on him. And he's also really good against pushing composition. So, and of course they'll pick the LeBlanc. This is really good. So just for everybody who values Victor, values Azir, they're really strong. They're strong control mages, but if he locks in the LeBlanc pick, then quite honestly, then World Elite should outpace this game. So they have 3 winning lanes. This is pretty suicidal in a sense. So this, like, if World Elite doesn't end up swapping, then it's pretty suicidal. I've already said it's suicidal. So let's just start with the game. So there should be a few mind games on how they play this out. Let's see how they do it. If they just fan, then that's pretty much anticlimactic. Let's see how this works out. Kandi's kind of just pushing in a little bit, you know, just making themselves seen. They're all making themselves seen. Okay. Once it gets past a certain point, okay, Mystic is hiding. It just really depends. Okay, Trundle's starting to rotate top, so they're looking to swap right now. Like it's a good telltale sign. They were showing themselves to see if there was invade coming through, and right off the bat they place their words, and he starts to hide. So I'm just gonna take a sip.
I think it started with Flandre.
It's all his fault.
Graves and Maokai looks to be starting topside.
No, couldn't be a standard start, so both
Again, I don't like that. I think that they should start their
opting out of the
raid camp, unless of course if they have a plan in mind. And I guess what's going on? Trundle and Maokai seems to be looking to push him off. Okay, that's interesting. That's really interesting. So Lucian will be helping out Graves. Meanwhile, Trundle and Maokai will be taking the Krugs. This is a really interesting adaptation. I haven't seen this yet. And so of course there's OMG double jungling on the bot side of the map.
Yeah, I was thinking about how curious that is. We'll see where Maokai 957.
And so that turns into, well, let's see with Maokai. Well, Maokai, because of this, he only gets 1 camp, right? He does get a lot of experience from it, so they're just doing a 1 camp kind of thing, and they're going to turn into a pretty hard push. This is interesting. I'm going to take okay. So the benefit of this is they will have a faster swap, really fast. The travel time for Maokai getting to the actual tower, to the lane itself, is far better than the standard portions of it. He doesn't get as much experience, but well, maybe he does, because he does get the solo experience for both Krugs. So that's something that I want. Maybe we'll see a little bit more of. It's a possibility. It's a good adaptation. Okay. And the fact that they were able to play this out worked really well for World Elite. I did mention earlier that they do have weaker lanes, like considerably so. We'll see how they play it out. I'm gonna maybe speed this up a little bit. Oh wait, that is day and night. That actually is amazing. They've barely got started on this tower, but meanwhile World Elite is basically finished. So how are they gonna use this tempo?
and they're not giving over the
They're not
uh,
giving
bonus
Maokai the
to their
bonus
top laner,
gold.
957. It's actually
Okay.
split between them, so that is something
And
unique
on
that
top of that, they're
Team Vivi
backing.
like to
They're
do.
not
They typically give
giving
the
him
lane
the
steals
lane
on
swap ward
Razview,
as
though,
well.
so this time around on the Lucian.
Interesting.
I don't
Much
know if I like that, but it
faster
feels
tower
like
rotation.
here's
It
the
truly
thing.
just kind of
Here's what
needs,
they've been like.
5 to 10 seconds.
So there's a trade-off in everything in life. That sounds like the beginning of Full Metal Alchemist. So basically, what I've been seeing from the very beginning of this game is that World Elite has been trying to prioritize being as fast as humanly possible in their swap. Um, so they accomplished this, right? They got the speed out of it. In fact, they didn't waste a single time in giving um, the ward for Maokai. Now that's a trade-off. It's a risky trade-off. But Maokai, because of all of this, he's already ahead, right? He already got the CS advantage. So technically, it's a good trade-off in that
When
now their bot
OMG
lane's
to set up
rotating
maybe a gank,
towards
or
that
in
lane,
the past challenge the Rift Herald. Obviously,
and they
no, I
don't
mean, changes
lose
to
much
this
from
is
it. So
much more
this is
6
a good
minutes this time around.
exception of the
But
rule,
we'll
I'd
see if
say.
WWE get any
So
sort
how
of
are they going to
advantage
use it?
here from
So
having a faster
let's
queue
see.
initially.
Bot lane hides, and I think the
Coming
bot
on,
lane
there's no point.
recognized.
He's gonna
Oh,
swap back here.
yeah, yeah,
Mystic
yeah. Oh,
now
oh,
might
no,
be in a
no,
little
come
bit of
back.
trouble.
Okay.
There's so many people from OMG just waiting there.
Okay, so this is really, really funny. This already looks really nice. So the bot lane, I guess OMG recognized that they didn't put down the swap wards. OMG did, right? They see Mystic rotating, but because they recognized that they were really slow in the swap, and it was like, okay, this may be risky, but if they can get a pick on Mystic, that would be great because World Elite does not see OMG rotating. They just see them disappearing, right? So the assumption is that OMG has backed and they're going back towards top. Maokai doesn't see it, the rest of the team doesn't see it. But they're gonna see if they can get a cheeky um kill on Lucian, and what this does, it's a very good idea because OMG saying, okay, look, dragon's up, it's a really good dragon. We don't want to lose it because not only are we going up top side of the map, separate from this play, but not only are we like isolating ourselves from the dragon, but we are incredibly slow. And so the, we would basically lose so much from this. So instead of heading back, they're going to look for this kill. Now what the skill does is, yeah, they get this kill and they can rotate to a dragon, or they can rotate to like sticking to these lanes. Um, it helps OMG, it cuts down the tempo entirely. Problem is, Maokai's farming up a storm, right? He's free to this lane.
He might be able to
Meanwhile,
pick up the
Fizz,
smoke
I
rather.
believe, he's gonna be
Smack him
playing
and
like he
walk
needs to
straight
like.
past him. He's gonna
So they're already started. Fizz is gonna be playing as if he is trying to get the wars, like just trying to get the CS down, right? So just baiting him in.
get caught out here. Mystic now gonna get jumped on. The
Now
knockback
he's
should
gonna be
come out
looking to
shortly.
join the
Good
play.
flash come here. He tries to relay pursuit out of there. The heal comes in well. Keeps
Interesting. Okay,
himself
so they
alive.
didn't even get
He
the kill. So
somehow
this
is
is,
able to
so
get
that's
out
the
of there.
risk.
Brilliantly played
Right
from
there, that's the
Mystic right
risk.
there,
They
making
look
sure
to
that
cut
he
down the
holds
tempo.
his
They were
flash to
probably
try to get away from
successful
the
at it,
opening
right?
row, and
But
holds his relentless pursuit. So
not good enough.
using his
They
two
didn't get the
gap
kill.
closers
So
perfectly to save
now
his
the
life.
question is,
Absolutely.
what will
Still
Fizz do?
burns both of his summoner spells and has to make another
It looks
trip
like they're
back to
gonna
the
immediately
fountain
start
to heal
rotating
up.
top, but
Picks up a
hey, you know,
coal,
that's
but he goes back
that's
to
the
base
thing.
there. So
Is
got a little bit of an item discrepancy to Caitlyn, who already has that pick house
Trundle is
here.
already in the
Biggest
lane and
discrepancy on
starting
the
to
map,
help
though, is
push
the
out, so
tools
they don't
utilized
really
in there's
lose
not only
as
in the
much.
level 4 to level 3 for
In
957,
fact,
but also in the CS,
I think OMG
17
still
to
gets the
6.
tempo
And it's about to
advantage.
get a
But
lot worse
hey, you know
for
what? It was
Fizz
a good
here,
look, and
as
I
he's
liked
going
it.
to be facing across from 2 people in a
It
very
probably helped
long
him out quite a
lane.
bit.
Huge discrepancy. Cool in the meantime from Sierra.
I'm really
Starting to
glad I
get
was able to
invisible
see that
block,
actually.
likes his high mobility mage.
We are going to see the continuation.
Okay,
He's
so
going to replicate that on the bottom lane.
oh, good point.
Now we're
So
going to see
this is another point, and I'm sorry for constantly having to pause this video, but this is something that I noticed from, I think maybe Koreans do this as well, but I recognized it with Chinese teams. Royal, in the last split, something they did was on the second swap, so let's say, of course, for the second outer tower, they would go back, and once they killed that tower, and you know the initial lane swap wards that I was speaking of, right? Where they put the wards here to catch the mountain rotations, and that's all the benefit. And the assumption is, of course, that those wards will die, right? You can't use those wards. The sole intent of those wards are just to catch them on, see them rotating, and you can use that information to just like push out the wave, right? Um, but something Royal did and and something look that I see OMG doing, right, is they've when on their first back they purchase pinks, right, on their support and jungle, and what they're already doing is that they're using lane wards for pinks. So not only do you catch them rotating to the lane, but it ultimately helps Xiang, um, and potentially not this game, of course, but potentially your mid laner as well. If your mid laner were to be a TP mid like Lissandra or Diana, anything really. This gives you so many options for plays. Now, of course, let's say the enemy team just decides to walk into that bush, right? Well, your pink is dead. It's only been used for information. That's unfortunate. Um, but there are a lot of other places that I remember. I'll maybe speak to that in a different video, where Elite use their pinks to kind of they place them rather deep and in obscure places. So it would be rather than teams being able to find it, they would go their usual pace in their swap and helping the push, and they would never check those bushes, and they would push, 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 and that right off that there would be a counter engage to from the enemy team from a TP flank play. And another pick that works really well with it, of course, is Rise. So
The continuation of the lane swap here.
those wards would end up
The AD carry
deciding
support
games.
for OMG going to head
So
up
that's
towards the
something
top
that I
lane.
don't
Seems
see
as
even
though you're going to
NA and
replicate that
EU
down in the
doing
bottom
at
lane.
times.
Still,
So
primary
maybe
benefactor
they'll
so
start
far
doing
in
it. Maybe
this
that's
lane
something that we'll
swap
see
is
from the when the
TPW
split
having the
starts.
advantage on their top lane or
But that's a
20 to
main
7
difference I see
CS.
from
Like you said, both
the
top laners
regions
will be
so
joining
far.
the bot lane, so gentlemen's
Okay,
agreement
so
between the
so
two
far,
teams.
let's
We're
see.
going to kill the outer
They're pushing up to
towers
the
and
tower.
start creating
OMG's
really
already to this
long
tower,
side
so if you
lanes.
already, if you can see that the
OMG
initial swap
already
that we
working
saw,
on the top
the
lane
cut in tempo
outer
that
turret.
OMG did,
We've got 4
was
members ready. We're
beneficial.
going to wait for the next creep wave to crash towards that tower before
They
trying to take
probably
it
get
down.
this turret.
CR's here as well, going to
Maybe
poke his
World
arrows
Elite
in
needs to
towards the
pull
turret
their
and try and
jungler,
get down as fast as
Graves, and
possible.
if they have
Meanwhile, on the
Graves, then
bottom
they're
lane,
probably
TPW,
going to
they've
be
got
just
3
as fast,
people
right? Because they have
working
Trundle
on
and
taking down
Graves.
this turret. No,
Yeah, that's
the
what they're going
jungler
to
is
do.
nowhere in sight just
So
yet.
maybe they
Funny
even up the matchup, or
casually
maybe
now
they're
makes
even
his way
faster,
down
right?
after taking a camp for
Because
himself.
Graves is
So now
incredibly
it's a
good at pushing
four-man push
towers,
on either side.
especially
That
with
said, it
Trundle.
does
So
mean that Drag Cool
A lot of return on the
let's see who's
trade back and
faster.
we're going to pull the trigger on.
LeBlanc. Initial trade on this.
Okay,
Able to
they
smartly
leave
trade back
the
and forwards
tower.
with
Did
this
they
LeBlanc.
get the tower?
And this is kind of the big thing that I was
Wait a
hoping to
minute.
see.
Return
To
Did they
favor
get the
Drake.
tower or
So now
not?
it's a four-man
casually now makes
that's
I
simply
don't
to
get
push.
it.
took a lot of
Did they
return
just
from the
leave the
harass that Cool
tower?
put down during that initial trade.
Oh no, that's Maokai.
Was able to
Whew.
smartly trade back and forth
Oh my
with this
goodness.
LeBlanc.
I was so
And this is kind of
confused.
the
I was
big
like,
thing that I was talking
did the
about. I was
enemy
curious as
top
to when
laner
they
just
were going to
walk
pull the
all the
trigger on
way
it early,
bot
but it
and
will
took
be a very
and
early
saved that
Infernal
tower?
trade
I
again.
was
They've just been
amazingly
slightly
confused.
ahead
Okay,
of
no.
OMG in terms of
So they just
taking down
kept
the side
Maokai there
towers,
to
and that
deal with the
collective
tower,
time
and
has
then they cut
evened out
and
this
sent
type of
3 people to
advantage, which
get the
an
Infernal
Infernal Drake
Dragon. So that's
early,
really
yeah,
smart.
it's not going to be that much because it's scaling
I would have
stats,
been
but at some
insanely
point,
confused by that.
3 to 4 item breakpoints
Okay.
is going to be a
So
determining
that's really good
factor.
from World Elite.
No
They
response
brought their
for that
jungler in.
objective coming out
They
from
helped the push, and
OMG
then
so
they
far. As the
rotated them
next dragon
towards
to spawn
Dragon.
will be the
Really
Ocean
good. They get
Dragon. So
Infernal on
no
top of that.
stacking
So
Infernos unlucky
right now
for
leads
Team W,
the
but
lead is
they do have
towards
one
World
for
Elite.
now. If
They
they can
played out the
continue
lane swap
controlling the dragon
incredibly smart.
objective, will help them
And you
out
know they
later on
needed to do
in the
that
game as
because,
well.
More
well, they could
importantly,
have just
taking
played
Dragon
lane,
this
gotten
early
a
means
lane
that
swap,
you
and they
will
would
have
have been happy
5 spawns
regardless.
per
But
Dragon before Elder Dragon if
not
you're
only did
taking
they
it
play
every
the lane
single
swap,
time
but
that
they
it
got a pretty
comes up.
hefty
The
advantage
chance
in
of
it.
getting 3 Infernal Drakes out of 5 spawns is about 37%,
So
so
now it
relatively
seems
high.
like, okay, what are they going to do? What's the next
Well,
objective,
see
right?
if Team W do
So
get
both
the
outer
luck of
towers
the
are down.
spawns later.
Let's
We did get the luck of the spawn
let's take
early
a
on the
brief
desk
break.
here
What are
today.
they looking to do? So World Elite right now, they just want to tend to the waves, right? Maokai's gonna get a wave. He has TP up. He's gonna take one of the side waves, and he's just gonna farm up. That's all he wants to do. Farm up and um, wait for his team to go to the next objective. And Graves is also gonna. So pretty much every lane at this point, they're gonna be looking to farm up, and they already have a decent farm advantage, so they're in a good spot. Um, they're just looking to scale up and look for their power spikes. OMG, their power spike is as fast as they can get it. They have LeBlanc, Fizz. So these both of these. I don't want as LeBlanc. By the way, I don't want LeBlanc on a side wave yet. Okay. I want LeBlanc using the push that she has in mid to hide in one of the lanes depending on where the tempo and where they're pushing on. So right now they have Caitlyn and Bard bot side. I want LeBlanc I want Bard and LeBlanc, what's it called? Basically helping each other out, playing with each other, especially with Rek'Sai. Kill the pink that I see right now in this bush. take control of this. Like the only way they can take control of this jungle is they need to wait for Caitlyn to push out of 2 more waves. And once Caitlyn pushes out 2 more waves, LeBlanc can shove out her wave and then start to hide. And then they can use that pressure to take over this jungle and use the push that Caitlyn pushes to the tier 2 tower.
For now, we're looking at World
And
6. He's
off
going to
that,
be clearing out as
they
many
start to
jungle kills as he
rotate mid.
possibly can.
And then that's how you start to
Still
really
failing
threaten
though.
this tower. Is
No,
that
I
they can
got
threaten
it.
tower dive, especially with now
Nice
with
joke,
Bard. Now
Chris.
Bard's pretty
Mystic
low in
moving
level.
out
They
towards the
can't
top
really
lane
get a
now.
level
He's
6
gonna be trying
dive,
to clear
right?
out the waves.
It's
Cool's
going to be a
getting
little
stuck in
difficult.
this mid lane for
The only
now.
thing they can do is
Quite even
start
with
chipping
Sierra
the
in the mid
tower
lane.
down. And since they have
I'm still
Caitlyn,
checking back in on the lanes.
they can do that. Okay.
Ooh, dirt
So let's see what they start doing.
potion.
Blue buff,
Yes,
blue buff,
Caitlyn.
blue buff is up, so
Looking
they're
top
going to
lane
be
for the Victor.
pertaining
Yeah,
to that.
pretty stable
World
for now.
Elite, by the way,
Swifties, though,
has a
on lane
massive
top
wave
laner,
coming.
so
It's not a
957
cannon wave,
making
but they
sure he's
did build it up
constantly
to a
shoving
decent
behind his
degree.
bot lane.
He wants to go fast.
So
And this is
they need
again
to answer
kind of the big
this.
difference between these two teams. Xiang is
So it
approaching
looks
this
like
tower
World Elite was
by
able to get the
himself.
tempo meet
The
like
potential
first.
dive
So
from
how are
here
they
is
going to do it?
massive, so does
They do
to
need
make sure
help.
that before he approaches,
Caitlyn is
he's got 5
taking
is next
bot.
to him. So there we go. Has his buddy
LeBlanc is
system, and we go
kind
in.
of in a
Time
tough
to say
spot.
Mystic actually getting separated from the team. A good pill is going to
Ooh, now they
stop
got a
the
back
advance
win.
coming in for Fizz there, but Mystic has to be careful.
Oh,
Here comes Cool. Puts
I
a lot
don't
of
know
damage
about
down to
that.
Lucian. It's going to be Xiao that moves into the backline.
Okay.
Lucian will die to that ignite slowly. Meanwhile, Bard taking a lot of damage.
Just
Is
back
able
away.
to get out of there.
Just back
Though,
away.
TWE group up.
Okay,
Tries
really
to
good from
defend the rest of
OMG.
their members, but a big misplay. coming
Really
from
good from
Mystic.
Yeah,
OMG.
miscalculated, exits out of that the wrong
Okay,
way.
maybe they
going
can get a red
around the
buff out of
tower.
this.
Good
World
collapse
Elite
from
maybe
OMG
gets
as now they're
something.
contesting for the red buff. Goes to Condi.
Condi picks it up.
Alright, get the hell out of there.
PS5 will be able to
Okay,
take
good.
the magical journey to
They weren't
safety.
able to get
The
it.
rest of OMG
Yeah,
able to
sure,
run
they
away,
lose the
but
blue buff.
Condi does secure
But
the objective.
And
really
more
good tempo.
importantly, meanwhile,
Like
SMLZ
like
has been doing
SMLZ
good
pretty
chip
much
damage
gets a
on the
good
bottom
push
tier
down
tower
bot.
and is now
Denies a
looking
few
to
waves,
contest for
maybe
this
one
red
or two.
buff.
It's like, if you want to take my red buff, Condi, I
And
will
it looks
take
like they'll
yours.
get a
Gonna
red
use
buff from
the
this as
hedgehog
well,
cross
right?
from
So
inside of the bush to
so
get as
even
much
the
damage as
red
possible
buff
now
take from
onto the red
World
buff
Elite
game,
doesn't
but
mean anything.
despite all the action taking
Now
place,
what this
still
was, it was just a good
pretty
defense,
even
right?
between these two teams
It
for
wasn't a
Rainbow Barrel.
proactive play that
A
OMG was looking
small
to do.
gold lead for
So
OMG at the
OMG
moment.
needs to be
Yeah,
able
and
to
it
get
was a lot of momentum
their
was
play,
built up for
right?
Team
They need to
WE,
start setting up
making the proactive
their
play
push.
onto the excuse me,
They just need to reset right now. LeBlanc's too low, Caitlyn's too low. They need to reset and
from the AD carry.
start up a
Back in
push.
towards the mid lane, and that is another place that is dead even at the with
So right now there's a pretty big wave top. They're starting to build that up. They're starting to snowball that wave. Maybe they can play off that wave, right?
To do so safely. We do have the MR itemizer.
Caitlyn's starting to walk top side too,
He's gonna
so
go for
maybe
the
they're going to
missile
use that
scepter
wave to
later.
get the Rift
Or
Herald.
just hold on to that as he goes for the Riley
Missed
step,
his
but now
laser.
he's gonna get jumped
No,
on here. Gonna be
cool.
able to jump in here.
Oh,
He
there we
comes
go.
5 rolls, get a slow CO down, taking a lot of damage, pops, jumps
Really
on
smart.
scepter later. Or just hold on to that as he goes for the Riley
Missed
step,
his
but now
laser.
he's gonna get jumped on here. Cool, gonna be able to jump in here. He
One
comes
good
5
thing, by
rolls,
the
get a
way,
slow CO
and
down,
I guess
taking a
it's
lot of
very
damage,
obvious
pops the
here, but
barrier,
LeBlanc,
it's not gonna be
Rex
enough
side,
as World 6
really good
picks up
pressure
that
for mid.
kill for Team OMG.
So
Great collapse
one thing I
there.
love
A
about
good setup from
like
Cool,
playing
unfortunately.
into Victor
Again, another
with
kind
like
of
Rek'Sai, really honestly
micro
anybody
error
with
coming out of
LeBlanc is
Team
that
WE members,
you get so
missing
much
the
early pressure
big
off of it.
laser,
You
the
can
trade damage there, and then putting himself in a poor
like
situation.
as good as Victor
OMG
is,
now, they're looking to try and put
if you play the map
their
to a
aggression
good
on here
degree
as they
to the
look
point where
towards
you
the top
have your
lane.
support freed up, right? You freed up your support, you freed up your your side lanes honestly, you can just constantly look to make plays on Victor. So this one right here, okay, OMG set up this
Gonna
wave
try
and they're
and
pushing on it. Right now, I would honestly would rather see. Okay, a good point is that I would want them to start using this wave to rotate because they've pushed, like, they've set Graves and Maokai to hold this wave. They can use that advantage to just say, hey, you know what? We're going to push on towards mid now. We're going to just cut through to the jungle and come mid. If you dare decide to cut through the same path, we'll kill you. We'll pick that fight. If you don't, then we'll get a good chip off mid. Unfortunately, it looks like they need to, like LeBlanc's pretty low,
Condi's gonna use his
and they need
ultimate
to answer
clear
to
away
the waves
creep
that
wave, stop any push that they have up in the top
Lucian
lane.
is starting to
Meanwhile, on the
deny.
other side, does mean that Mystic will get some free time with this
I
tower.
don't know if
so OMG,
LeBlanc needed to do that.
stopped Team WE's early momentum.
We'll see. I
Now
mean,
are
it's
being
two
proactive
people,
themselves.
right?
Good game
We'll
on the
see
mid
how
tower. Translated that into pressure onto the bottom side.
much of a problem
Both
this
these
becomes.
teams very
Not much
evenly
of a problem at
so
all.
far.
I guess
So
LeBlanc was
we
just
are
there for
the
safety
source
reasons,
starting
but
from
could
the
have
lane swap that was
stayed.
initiated
But
by
because
Team
of all of
WE.
that,
They wanna go
they
into the Caitlyn
can't
Bard
really
lane. It
use the
seems that,
Caitlyn for that mid
you know,
push. So
slightly
unfortunate.
behind, but
One
slightly
thing to
behind, but
recognize, they need to do that, right? They just need
they
to
haven't fallen
constantly
behind
look
too
to
much just yet.
repeat those plays where they
No, not yet. We also do
build
have
up
the
a massive
completed
wave
double
onto a
AD
tower or
comes from
get them to
Caitlyn, so
answer with
moving
more than one
Eskenazi into this
person.
mid lane
Now, of
makes
course, in this
sense,
scenario,
ensuring
they
that
were able to
unlocking
at
the
least get
inhibition
Graves'
might be
ulti.
a little bit too early as A pause.
But it doesn't
Unfortunately,
really matter, right? They're
a little
not
bit of
looking to
technical
threaten
difficulty here,
on
but
that turret. They're looking to
hopefully we
use
can
that turret
sort it out
and then
as soon
cut
as
mid.
possible. But this
And
game is
so
very
I want to see them buying more pinks. I want to see them placing more pinks in that jungle
so
and
exactly
just
all
OMG there.
taking that control. Now,
I
hopefully,
wants
now this is
It
just
was
in
a
the
little
early.
bit
This is just an
ego
early
hitting
point of the game.
turning point
Once
really
they
back
start to
for
accrue more
OMG.
gold and start to
Took the
finish
very
their
quick better
core
advantage and
items,
then immediately
they can
rotated
start
it
to
into mid lane
really,
for that
you
huge
know,
gank on
really start to
Xie here.
invest in
well, we
those
are
pink
back
wards and
into
vision in
7 as Riv.
general. Once they,
That will be
especially
starting in
once they
about
reach
a
level
minute's
9,
time here. But CTW
once they
trying
reach
to
level
keep
9,
up
it's going to be
with
a lot harder
prioritizing
for
their dragon objective.
World Elite because that's when you start getting the
Tier 2
the
wounds and
upgraded
penetration
trinkets and you
online
can
for cool right now, so
clear
has his sorcery
as
shield,
many
so again,
pink wards
a
in
bit
that
more of a
jungle
full
as
threat against
humanly
the
possible.
MR, but more importantly, higher mobility, so he can start moving around as Xie
Okay,
continuing to lose his
so
tanks.
That was just
let's look at
one
the side lanes
crop
right now
of the W coming in
because
as
right
well. It's
now
just the ultimate cover
OMG is
block
just
during
looking to
that
constantly
damage.
play off
Hit
these
both.
lanes. I don't
So
want,
still a
and
big threat
as I
getting
said
into this
earlier,
next
I
few
don't
fights.
want
15
LeBlanc
seconds until the
playing
dragon
through
will
these
be up
waves,
and online. Team W
unless
not
actually
quite in the
maybe
position
it would
just
be
yet to take
beneficial,
contest for this one. So looks like just gonna
but
let it stand and
I wouldn't do it
see
because
where
I
it gets
think that you can
positioning later on in the game.
use the push with the
And
guaranteed
like
push
you
from
said, the big
Bard
issue
Caitlyn,
there is the
and
mid
then you
lane
can
attack
send them
that
mid.
forced Xie to back as the dragon is spawning. We'll see if OMG can
Okay,
do anything with it.
LeBlanc is
What
gonna be
happened in the bottom
staying.
lane, just pushing it
And
out
by the way,
whenever they
another
possibly
point is that
can.
of course I'd
Lucian is gonna be heading down
want
there
her
as
mid
soon as he
just to be
possibly can
able
as well.
to
Trundle still back in base, but look at
find
this.
more threat
OMG
in her
World 6. He's gonna be the one that starts
off
off
those
the
pink wards.
Ocean
Like
Dragon
if
here.
it's
5
Caitlyn, Bard,
NSMLZ will be
maybe
making their
I
way up,
guess
trying to
Bard
get some damage
would
down
make up
onto
for it,
base
but
and
he's
over
not
onto
even level
flank as
6
well.
yet. So
Yeah,
so
and
Bard
there's not going
threat
to be any sort of
pre-level
contention
6
from Team
isn't as
WWE.
beneficial.
Ocean Drake now into Mountain Drake, which means that we know
Okay.
all 3 Drakes in the game. And guess
So
what?
Ocean
Only
versus
3 valuable ones. So no Cloud Drake,
Fire.
unfortunately. Not
No
going to run
Cloud
fast.
I
Dragons.
prefer
Bouncing
Ocean
Dragon coming up
actually. Really
next.
funny enough. Just I'll tell you a reason
TW trying to
for that in
prioritize
just
that
one
one
second.
because that was just given over to Team W OMG. So
Okay.
TW not focusing on that
Now
at all. They just
Fire Dragon's
give
pretty
it up.
useful.
Happily
Generally,
giving the
Fire
dragon
Dragon
up
is better
to
than Ocean
OMG.
Dragon, right? But I actually
We'll
like
see
Ocean
that
Dragon
comes
here
back to bite them
because
anytime
since
in the
they're
future.
constantly looking to play these side lanes, they're going to be getting a lot of passive healing. They're not looking to
You're
pick
right
these
about
fights
Yo,
until
it's like
they
there's
get the
someone
number
talking in
advantage.
my ear.
So they're not looking to skirmish.
It's okay,
Now,
it's sorted.
It's
I
all
guess
good.
both teams
Yeah.
are rather happy with their buffs. I
We
think
solved
that
the problem, everyone.
World Elite is going to be not going to be.
Okay. So pressure
They're
being
going to
set
be
up,
looking
it's
to
now
skirmish
about
or get those
identifying the
fights
next most important
as much
objective,
as possible.
and who actually has the power
Meanwhile,
to do it.
OMG
So like we talked about,
is just going to be
Caitlyn
honestly
has the
looking to
flat.
play to the side
Caitlyn
lanes and then
has the
rotate.
flat AD. She should be unlocked to attempt to siege. But that means in contesting smaller objectives
Okay.
like this, because it's still very early in the game, about 14
And
minutes, they don't
and
manage
the
to
only
siege
reason
the
wait,
red
okay,
buff,
this
but
is
there we
really
go.
important. The only reason, generally, if you have a LeBlanc, you want to play towards mid and then use that for sideways, right? But it's because of the fact that they got that lane swap and the only objective that is open right now is mid that they want to use those sideways towards mid. Otherwise, I would use a LeBlanc pick to get to those
Oh, cool. Leaving
to
the
the
mid
side
lane,
objectives, but
starting to
they
eat
just don't
into
exist at this point.
Team WE's jungle, and just skirmishing over these smaller things.
Okay.
We already have a slight change in the itemization
Alright,
between
good
Caitlin's
wave
base
here to
as
work
well.
off of, unless if
Opted
Graves
without the
ulties it.
pickaxe and the BF
But
sword
no,
instead
it's
of
just gonna
going
be
for the zeal right after the BF sword.
It's gonna.
Oh, he's
Oh
caught
my
though.
God,
Cool.
cool.
Drop behind that pillar here. Good pillar being
Okay.
put down by Zero, able
So yeah,
to
this
stop
this
Cool from
hurts.
getting out of there.
So the
Leave
question
them
is,
to
how are
focus
they gonna
fresh
be able to
get
get
over it.
past
Yeah,
this,
very
right? They
cute
have a
interaction right
lot
there to make
of
sure the
wave
pillar
clear.
went down on the
Graves,
distortion, so when
Victor,
he tried to
right?
double distortion back, he just
They can
bounced off of it
essentially
straight
do
into
this for
Victor damage.
forever.
So good
But
maneuver
you
there
need
from
to
Zero, and again,
recognize
it's
that
just this
you
idea
need to
that
dive
OMG
that
are
tower.
continuously trying to cheat into
And
the
when I say
jungle and
dive
between
that tower,
lanes,
I don't mean you need
contesting for
dive for
raptors,
kills, right?
contesting
You're just
for red
trying
buff,
to
and then
dive
just
to
trying
push them
to
off the tower.
chip damage
So
on Team
you
W
need
and
Fizz
then
for that.
translate that into the
And
mid lane,
right now, I
but
don't think
good
they're using Fizz
response from
properly.
Zero to negate all of that
Like,
momentum,
how is
and we
Fizz
go back to
using his
passive
advantage,
turn.
right?
Still dead
Let's
even
look at
with
that.
Dane for the double.
They're pushing in the mid wave,
Gains
right?
as
What
well
was
as
Fizz doing? Now Fizz wasn't
opted
ready.
without the pickaxe and
Fizz needed to
the
push
BF
in one more
sword instead
wave.
of going for the zeal right
So
after the
with
BF
that
sword.
being said,
Oh,
Cool
he's
needed
caught
to be
though.
patient.
Cool.
They can do
Drop
this
behind that
forever,
pillar
right?
here. Good pillar being put
So
down
they
by
just
Zero, able to
Cool
stop Cool from
didn't
getting
have
out
to
of
do
there.
that.
I believe he had the
They can
burning
just
splash
and
to
he
get
didn't
over
even
there.
Yeah,
get that
very
hurt.
cute
But
interaction right
he
there to
did
make sure the
lose
pillar went
flash.
down on the
So,
distortion, so when he tried to double distortion back, he just
so right
bounced
now they're
off
just
and went
trying to
straight
play to
into
these
takedown
waves.
damage.
Lucian's pushing up bot.
So good maneuver there from Zero,
I
and
don't
again,
think
it's
they
just this
need to
idea that
answer
OMG are
that
the
wave
teams
right
that try to
now, but
cheat
maybe
into
if
the
they push in
jungle
one more
between
wave and
lane
then send them
damage,
back mid.
negate
Small is 20%
But now
mid.
Fizz is
So it's be
backing.
very quiet.
attention back to 7. That's
So
now
they're
been
just
shut
finding
up
it
as
really hard
TW will approach the Rift Herald here.
to make the
Curious
stars
to know
align
what's going to go to,
essentially.
but more importantly, the itemization, the fact that Fizz has his MR available to him as well as his Sheen, so he's got a safety for his lane
Okay,
assignment as well as
so
some
because
damage.
of all this,
See if Xion can start to
World Elite
pressure.
get a Rev
Well,
Herald.
Reptile Buff will be heading on over
Who are they
towards
gonna put it
the
on?
map to see
Probably
who
Condi,
is the
right?
one that takes
Okay.
off. It's going to be Condi, so
That gives them
6 games
better,
in a row, we see the
give him a
Reptile
better
Buff
push.
being donated over
Cool
towards
is
the jungle
trying
team.
his
Cody's
hardest
picking
to
that one up.
push his lead here.
Mystic moves up towards the top lane. Sion being a little bit cheeky, hiding inside the bush here. Pretty sure Mystic knows this is
But they need to
957.
answer
The
this
rest
wave.
of TW
They're
gonna
not
make their
gonna
way
be
up
able
there.
to,
They're
not
gonna
in
go for
time.
this tower.
OMG are looking for the flank, however, and
So that's
Rek'Sai
unfortunate.
does have her ultimate available, so World 6 did reset his positioning on the map. Isn't going to
Also,
pull the
one
trigger
point to
until
make
OMG are
sure
just going to pass him and put that one
to
away. In
remember is
fact,
that
SMLZ
SMLZ
is not even going to contest for the
did
bottom
at least half that
inner
turret, right, of damage
and
before,
Victor is going
much
to rotate
earlier
to
in
make
this
sure
game.
that he
So
thinks twice.
This
if
is
they
a
wanted to,
TW, you know,
they could
two
actually
towers to
decide
check now,
to
but
build up
still
the wave
David on
and
the
make
goal.
the
Not
objective the
a
bot wave,
fantastic
right?
position to be in
Now,
for
sure, the
TW, knowing
the
that
mid turret
even though you
is
have the extra
up,
structure, it's not
but
putting you in the lead
it doesn't
right now.
necessarily have to be
And
this mid
it's not a
turret, even
terrible
though I've been
position for
mentioning
them
it
to be in.
forever.
Again, you're still waiting
They
for
can
the
say,
ID
well,
break
it's
points.
easier
Fact is
actually in
that
this
LeBlanc's still a big problem,
case.
which
It's easier to get
why they're
this
taking
turret
full
in the bot
control in
tower.
mid lane here.
Well,
So
maybe
maybe
not
we
when
play
you
to
miss
that.
all your abilities. It's not as cool. You know, whiffs everything there except for the Q. Mystic
Okay, Lucian
even takes the
did well in
Caitlyn
holding
ulti to
that
the
wave.
face, but the
So
Connie
World
is
Elite
enough
just
to
knows how to
push
play this right
OMG
now.
off of the tower.
They know how to play their comp.
And it's just about
They know
making
that they
sure
just
that your
need to
Victor
wait
is
on their power
constantly
spikes. They know that
across
Graves
from any
still
sort of
isn't there.
stance
He's going for his
potential from
PD
OMG. Again, the thing about
and
Victor and Azir is that they
just
do
isn't at the
everything
point
that
in
you
which
could ever want.
Yep.
he's strong enough, right?
As reverse siege now.
So this
Yeah,
is kind of
TW
scary for
gonna
OMG.
try push down
They need to
the
start
mid lane
pressuring. They
outer
need to
turret.
take this tower
They're
down. They
down to
need to
about
take these
half
tower
health now,
downs
so a couple of
because
pushes will be
next
able to take
dragon's
it down.
coming
We'll
up in
see
a minute 30.
he's just up in the top lane,
And
free
if they
farming
get
here.
that
Did
tower
mention
down,
his
if they
quota
get the
push. He has
freedom to
quite
be able
nice
to
against the Maokai. In fact, he's overtaken him. He's more than 10 CS
push an
up
extra
against the
wave, right? Push
legendary.
an extra wave mid,
Yeah,
push
he's
an
also
extra
got a
wave
wave pushing into on
bot,
checking
right?
out
If they're
the
able to do this, if they're
vision
given the
here
freedom
from
to,
both of
because
these teams.
they do have
So
good pushing lanes, right?
Team WE could look to
Or at least
continue to siege and
priority in these
effectively
lanes. Then they can
free
get
farm
a free
this
dragon, or at
side
least
as
free
we now
positioning
trade
on
people
these
down here
objectives.
for the safety and mobility of
And that's the
LeBlanc
key to their victory at their point.
versus
That's
the
what they
pushing
want to
power
be
and
looking
chip
for.
damage from SMLZ and Bard in the mid lane.
So right now they
And
put LeBlanc in
both
side lanes.
teams have
Maybe
wards to
that'll
counteract
help them a
any
bit.
sort of flank.
LeBlanc did
But
end up
they're all
getting
just kind
Morellos
of
and
gentlemen's
Sork boots,
agreement, like
so
this is fine. We're
This
just
is
gonna
how we're
anyone
gonna
she
do
we're just
goes
gonna
it.
against,
farm.
it should be
And this is
fine.
like such Team WE. Like they're just the weirdest team in the LPL. They'll just do this where it's like, okay, this
But
is
they could.
fine. Let's just sit and farm. 55-minute game. I'm totally fine with that.
And then the other games are like, no, we need to go home.
And
It's
so
20
many
minutes.
other LPL
Right now the
teams are
casters are
oh,
talking
okay, we
about
gotta do this
it being
objective, we
weird.
gotta
I don't think it's weird. I think
a
they
slight
know
advantage here,
World
so we're
Elite
gonna
knows what
continue to
they're
gain
playing
this
towards,
lane,
right?
push forward.
Now generally teams in LPL you'd say, hey,
TW, the
these
history of the
teams
LPL.
just
I just
want to scrap. That's their identity.
they just
They're the
are
scrappy team.
consistent.
But
It's
if
a good
you
trait to
have this
have.
composition and if you just
Dragon
look
gonna
to
be spawning
scrap,
though in 10 seconds,
that's
and
not
it's gonna
proper.
be the Mountain
And the
Drake.
reason why it's not proper,
We do
and I'm
not
not
have the
saying
Black
that
Cleaver
it's
done yet for
a
Lucio.
bad
We
way
do
to
have
play
Arcane for Caitlyn, so she's gonna be doing
or a
far
good
more AoE
the
damage,
way
but
to
he
play.
doesn't
It's
have
just
the
the right way
ability
to
to
play with their
power spike.
composition.
Well, another comp picks up that on
Right now
LeBlanc as
just
well.
look at these item sets.
So big item
Maokai
pickup
has a
there,
good
whereas
item,
Victor
like right,
only
he
upgrading the
has
Hex Core
Spirit
so far.
Visage, so he
It's
should be fine
his
up against a
front
good
row.
portion of that team.
Don't think
Graves is not ready
typically
yet.
you would have to go perfect fight or
Victor
massive
right now
hailstorm to
doesn't have an
safely
item,
do this, but because OMG moved into
even
it
though it probably
first
doesn't
and had
matter. He
full
probably
over
has
vision,
enough AP.
it's a risky
Lucian
situation
right
because
now,
they're going to contest it
I guess he
anyway.
has
Again,
it. He has a good spike
Maokai and
against
Victor,
Caitlyn,
very good champions in
but a
these
Black
tight
Cleaver would do well
corridors.
They certainly
to help
are.
him.
Let's see if TW
They can probably
can
take this
make
fight because
use of
Maokai is
them
just that big, right?
effectively here as they're looking to try and fight. Zero puts down the pillar, separates
Okay,
a lot of
before we
members
even
of
get to
OMG.
this fight,
Fate goes out.
before we even get to this fight, that's why that's right now, they are a team fighting team comp. They are probably the best team fighting team comp. OMG recognizes that and they're trying to play the early game as hard as possible to get these as much objectives as possible, deny them from their jungle camps, right? They're trying to do all this good shit because they know that there's a ticking time bomb.
Locks
And so
down
now
3
they
members.
forced into this
Try-
dragon.
They certainly are.
It
Let's
is
see if TW can
Earth Dragon, which is pretty important.
make use of them
So let's see.
effectively here as they're
Are they
looking to
strong
try and
enough?
fight.
Did they
Zero
get
puts down the
enough
pillar.
of an advantage? And I don't want to annoy you guys, so let's just look at the before the the fight. Let's look at like what they have built up. We got Morello's from LeBlanc. Um, Fizz has Iceborne Gauntlet, and he has two components of Sunfire Cape and Spear Visage. So they seem pretty tanky. Fizz and Rek'Sai are pretty tanky. Caitlyn has a lot of sustained damage. She doesn't have IE yet, but you know what? She's getting there. and LeBlanc should be okay. But okay is not good enough because I think at this point I would
TW can
maybe
make
give World
use
Elite
of them
the
effectively
advantage
here
in
as
this
they're
fight.
looking to try and fight. Zero puts down the
But
pillar.
they're able to cordon them off, so let's see
Separates
how
the
it
line members
goes.
of OMG. Temper Fate goes south, locks down 3 members. Rek'Sai,
Good temper
OMG's
fate.
World 6 will pick that one up as 957 goes south, but at what cost? 5. He's going down.
Ooh.
CL's trying to dive into the back lines. He picks up 1 kill, but he
Good
goes
look from
down
Cool,
to
but
Mystic
didn't get
here.
it.
Team W able to trade
Okay.
that 2 for 2.
2 for 2.
In the end, though,
They could have
OMG
gotten
do
more.
manage to secure the dragon, so good job there on
That was
World
pretty
6.
interesting.
This was kind
So
of the questions that we had. It
that
had
was
to
a
be a
good,
perfect team
as
fight,
good of
and
a
how it
setup
was
as you can get from
executed.
OMG.
Fortunately for
But
Team
as you can tell,
WE
they
and their
got
fans,
they got
SLZ
everything they
was
wanted
forced
right
out
there. Of course, they
relatively
didn't get the
early.
mid lane
Check out that
turret,
damage, though.
and if they had
Victor
gotten the mid lane turret, they
on
would have
those
gotten a little bit more
choke
control and
points on
advantage
top
because
of
they
those
would have been able to
objectives.
push an extra wave
Multiple
towards mid,
lasers,
right?
huge chaos storm,
And they
means
would have
that,
been able to
the
get a little
dragon
bit
will be
more of a
traded for
deep
outer
reward.
mid
Now, if you,
tower.
a good example is that if you get that mid turret, then you can get this deep ward here too, like just one green ward here, and you can. That means you can push up your pink a little further, right? So that's why these towers are so important because that means that you push up your line of vision, you push up where your green wards should be, you push up where your pink wards should be, and it just becomes that much scarier. And honestly, it kind of reminds me of creep wave in StarCraft because
More importantly, it's
you just push
keeping
up your creep,
SMLZ in
and
these
you
fights as
if
well,
you look at
making
your
sure that
minimap
Cool's
in
finding a
StarCraft, and you're like,
priority target.
that's
So,
his
was
that's
still
his
very
that's his
capable for
territory.
OMG,
That's
but
where
good
he
job
lives,
recognizing
right?
that Team
And
WE's
so I know in
competition is so
League,
strong
you look at it as a
in these
just a
effectively
cross around the
battle arenas.
right through the map, right through the middle of the map right here.
On this bout, showing that he
And
is
saying this
still
is
that
our
playmaker
side
supporter.
and this is your side,
Big
and that's the
Temper
wrong
Fate came out
mentality in
from that
competitive
fight.
play.
Hopefully we'll see more
And
from him.
honestly, that should be
As we
once you
get
get to
into
the
more
higher
lines
point
again,
of
the future
solo
of
queue,
Baron.
that's the
It's about
wrong
20
mentality
21
there.
minutes in this game, so Baron is up and online. Teams could definitely
Where that's
try and
just
go for
not
that
your
at
jungle
any
anymore.
point in time
That's
now,
not
especially
your
Bounce
like,
Dragon over on
and
the
the
side of
moment you
OMG. Actually
decide
damage
to
over
even
towards Epic
touch,
Monsters and
like
Turrets
put
as
a
well.
foot in that jungle, you might
But
die because
6 here just,
OMG has
cheekily
Rek'Sai,
waiting up in
and
the top
Rek'Sai
lane
will
on this
catch you
Rek'Sai.
walking and entering in his path, his
Take a look at
territory.
his items
So,
now. He's got the Cinderhawk. Gonna go for a
alright,
Spirit
World
Surge
6,
next.
what are
He
you
sees
trying
he's
to do?
been called
What is
out,
this?
actually. Sia at 0 trying to take him down. World 6, he's a little bit too
That's a little bit
tanky for them
much.
though. Bit of a little bit more than
But
they
yeah,
were
he's
choosing to do.
giving
Got a
Fizz
tunnel
as
straight
much
out there.
Yeah, I gotta go
control
ahead
to
and
push out
say
that wave,
that.
so that's fine.
Did you happen to check what the next dragon was, Fish?
Oh, I did not. No. I don't know
Oh,
what the
interesting
next
enough,
dragon's
World
gonna be.
Elite has sent
So we hover over
Victor to
here.
take the
That's
side
fine,
wave
I'm
while
fair enough.
Lucian's
We'll
mid.
look at it eventually.
We'll get there.
Wonder what they're gonna do
slowly.
with that.
Wish there was some sort of indicator.
Usually the benefit of that is just centralizing your support, right?
Usually.
If you send your AD carry mid, that means, your support decides that, hey, now that we have a guaranteed push mid,
Objective that
and I am
OMG
with my
want
AD carry,
is outer mid.
I can start
They
walking
can
with my jungle from
continue to
point
apply
A to point
pressure
B.
into this bottom side of lane, which is why they're ganking 957.
Now, this means that they're also able
That's a
to,
great route though.
here's a really good thing from World Elite. Now, OMG's looking for this pick, right? Great for them, from them. It might not work out. Now they're sending their entire team and they have Bard. Let's see how this works out. It should be fine. Nah, it's too long of a lane.
There's no turret to protect him. He has to run all the
Let's
way
see.
back to base if he wants to get to safety.
Yeah,
That's not going to be
okay.
possible as the Fizz is just going to be able
So it didn't work out that way. But the reason, good
to
benefit of
shove it in
having
there. Run all the way
your
down
dual
the
lane
ambush.
mid is that they are faster to rotate. And that means either side of the map is their strong side of the map, right? If there's a play happening by, well, their top laner's like, oh my god, they're sending people at me. Help! I need assistance. And your AD carry is just gonna drop what he does because he's already got to push in that wave. And a support who's usually gonna be walking with their jungle anyways, right? He's gonna be like, well, we're on our way. Support jungle's on our way. AD carry's on their way. Just hold out. You're a Maokai.
Continue to apply pressure into this bottom side of lane.
It might be a little hard here, I'm not gonna lie. And
That was a great route,
Victor,
though.
here's the
Nice
sad
place
thing
up in
about
the
this
base,
is
so
that
Rackets
maybe
is
they don't
still
want to
gonna
look
take
for
a
this
lot
at
of
all,
damage, though.
and
The
it's
rest
the
of
right
OMG
play to
moving
make
out
because
towards the bottom
Victor,
side
of
of this
course,
map.
he
There's no
sees top
turret
lane,
to protect
and he
him. He has
doesn't
to
have
run all the way
TP.
back to base if he wants to
So
get to safety. That's not
you
gonna
don't
be
want to put
possible as the
yourself
Fizz
in a
is just
numbers
gonna be able to jump straight in there.
disadvantage.
And the thing that I
So
wanted to comment on is
unless
the
if
reason
you
why they can continue to apply pressure here is
cordon
because it's
LeBlanc
so
off in the mid
dangerous
lane, if you
to
push out the
move out
wave,
of the
if you
mid lane to
set up a
hit
pink and
down to
actually have
assist
threat
Maokai
to
without
stop
going
LeBlanc
long
from
around.
rotating, then
Simply
that is the
because
wrong
of
play
the
to make.
vision
So
control that OMG
they
have
lose,
placed, but again, more
they lose
importantly, the fact that
Maokai,
Cool
but
is actually a threat on this
that's
lane.
fine. They had a
LeBlanc,
lot of
despite just being
options and they
0-0
chose
free.
probably the right
OMG
one.
picking up a nice lead for themselves. They're about 1,000 gold ahead of Team WE at this point in time.
Okay,
Alright,
so
two dragons to one.
OMG based off
Three
this, they're going to
onto the
try their
board.
hardest to
Is that
take
more
this mid wave.
standing gold for
And
OMG
I
or
think they've
possibly
been doing
taking
it
down the
wrong
invasion? You know,
from the
with
very
the layout
beginning.
turret, something that OMG
They
definitely
haven't
want to try and
been,
take
as a
down in
team,
the near
as a
future.
unit,
They
I
need
don't
to
think
make
5
most of
has
this
been
after
playing
making
around World 6 as
1-3-1 with
much
their
as he should,
composition. Again,
or
Kit
could
likes the
have.
siege mode, but as long as Victor's across from her, it's still
Especially
going
if
to be
you're
a very
Bard
long
Rek'Sai,
and
you have
tedious
so
process.
much skirmish
Take advantage of
capabilities,
the
right?
fact that you have a
That you
Fizz,
should
that
be
you have
doing
a
exactly
LeBlanc,
what
that
they're
you can
doing right
throw
now.
them out into
Like,
these
yeah,
side
you're
lanes
doing
and
it to get
really mess
the
with
blue buff.
TWE's lane assignments.
Five taking
But
a
you
lot of damage.
can
He
do
does use the
this
magical journey to get
to
to
get
safety.
vision in the jungle.
Do manage to get the blue buff, though,
Now,
I believe.
Bard got chunked
Looks like we're
because
going
he was
over
alone,
towards
because they
Corby
went
goes
for
for the
blue
blue
buff.
buff. I don't see anyone
But
on
if
the
they had
side
walked
of
as a unit
TW that has a blue.
for
So mission
pinks, right,
accomplished, and that's
for
exactly what
vision,
they're doing. Is
for
now
cutting the
returning to
people
these
off,
waves,
and if they
resetting
get
them and saying,
contested,
okay,
right,
LeBlanc
they'll
Fizz
pick that fight.
out to the side
And
lanes, start winning passively,
Fizz has TP,
and
so
we'll
he
see
can
if they can
always make
transition
those
that into any sort of
fights, and
structure.
you'll always have the wards
Taking a look
because
at the
that was
items
the
really
point of you
quickly.
walking into
Infinity
that
Edge
jungle
picked up
from
by
the
Kayn.
very
There's
start.
also Runaan's
So,
Hurricane. The mid lane, LeBlanc already has the Merlin Nomicon and the Abyssal
so I
Scepter
mean,
picked up.
they're not
The
playing
flip
it as
side
well as
Victor,
they
you know,
could be,
gonna pick up Iron Power Spike here. He's picked
and
up
that's
the right Ice
honestly
Crystal
why
Scepter.
I
this
mean,
mid
that
tower
makes
is up
sense when
so
they're
long.
fighting over these
And
dragons like
not
they're
only
doing
is it
in
up for
1 minute
so
3.
long,
They
but
still lost the
there has
dragon,
been no
but,
damage taken
came
to
out
this
fairly
tower.
even or ahead on the team fight transitioning in that
So
tier tower.
it's
But
partly to
these
blame for
big
World
windows
6 and
between these
5, but also
objectives,
to
OMG
blame
are just
for
getting
Siang. It's a
further
team thing,
and
right?
further ahead.
Because
Another big spike
if you
for
want to
TW.
really
Cisco just
zone them from that
instinct. He's
tower,
got
if you
his
want to
Mind
really
Cleaver
pressure
and
them,
his
is that
Youngest
if you're going to
Ghost
get
Spike.
those vision, if you're going to get that
That's
proper
the
vision control,
Fear
if you're going to
Spike
cut
for
down
Lucian also helps out with the damage that
vision one
Condi
side
might
of the
deal with in
jungle,
the future
which
team
should be
fights.
towards your top side of
Still
your
very
map. Like
scary
when I say
because
top
they
side, I
seem to
mean
be out in a lane across
towards
from
your
a
top
Fizz or a
laner, right?
LeBlanc
Wherever he
Fizz.
is. If your
At
top
some
laner's
point,
bot, then
957
you do a bot.
may not
If your
be able
top,
to
like,
slow them down
I
either.
guess whoever is going to be
It's been a
collapsing at the
minute
end of the
until
day.
Dragon spawns here. OMG
And
already
so that
setting up
should be a
some
threat.
nice vision around that
And they
mid
just
lane,
haven't
put
been
up
making
whatever
use of
was
the
the big
fizz. He's
fight
just
from
been
TWE.
his
TWE still
use right
being
now has just been
funneled
pushing sides.
deeper and deeper towards their base.
Alright,
So
and they're not
Wi-Fi
gonna
Jordan
protect
does
the
get
wave
some cool
again.
jumps in, lots of
They're just
damage
using
out to
LeBlanc
Mystic.
damage to pressure.
And the chip damage continues on the tower
Hmm.
as unfortunate
Victor's
backs.
gonna be coming
They
back
will
mid.
get in
Maybe
time
they
for the
give up the
dragon should
tower.
they want to contest
They have
it,
one
but
more wave that's coming
this is
through.
the issue.
957 gets caught out one
Okay,
more time
Xiang
there. Not
is
gonna
gonna
get
head back
locked
by. He
down
should
though.
be,
He's able to
honestly, go
flash
mid.
away.
Team
Xiang,
WWE
just
need to
please
pull
go
the
mid.
trigger on a hard engagement.
Xiang,
They
just
need
go
to get
mid.
to one side of the map and hopefully move
Xiang,
fast enough that they don't lose
Rek'Sai,
any
just go
structure in the
mid.
process. But
Please go
getting
mid.
poked out and run around the map like this, they're just
Oh
going to
my
lose everything.
god, this is,
Almost feels like they need the
I'm getting a
Maokai
little
wherever
tilted
this
right now.
LeBlanc is trying to catch, pull out when he
They could
makes
have
that
done this
double
so
steal,
much
but
earlier. But now Maokai has the
TWE just taking
time to
damage over time.
rotate
The
along
Dragons
with
gonna
them.
spawn in about
So,
5 seconds. OMG have control over the pit. They could definitely go to
are
try
they
and
ever
pick
gonna
that
get this
one up.
tower?
They can just
Is that ever just gonna
allocate
be
their
a thing
resources
that they
in
do?
lane,
LeBlanc,
continuing to chip.
this is
They're just
exactly what
chipping
they're
them
gonna
down
do. And
slowly,
one more
but they could
time,
have gotten it
Mystic
so
just
much
takes the
faster.
full LeBlanc combo to the
Now they're
face.
just gonna use
Couple
it
more
as,
spells from
they're
him,
just
and
gonna
that
use the
Lucian's
pressure
going
to get
down.
Dragon,
Cool.
right? With that,
Really
that's fine, that's
putting on a
good.
lot of pressure with this LeBlanc.
And that's good
And
to
it is
use
going
it
to be
now,
double
but it feels
Ocean
like more of a
Dragon there, and
consolation
Inferno's going to be
prize
the
than an
next respawn
actual
for OMG. So
main
a lot
prize
of
that they were
free
looking for.
regen given, and as Spawn likes to say,
They
that means
probably could have gotten
almost
that if they
100%
had made that
uptime
pressure
for the
mid
jungler
anyways.
to
Like if
remain
they had
on
sent
Summer's
them
Rift.
earlier to go mid,
2,000 gold lead almost for
they would have
OMG
gotten
at
the
this
tower.
point in time. TWE does
And they would have been able to
sneaky
walk
ducks
towards
whenever Cool was trying to
towards
pressure his
Dragon.
turret. He just jumps in, gets the double distortion out, takes so much damage. Here we go. Condi's trying to bend
Now
up
he's
into the
TPing.
back
Like,
line.
what are they
Jungle
doing?
trying to get a wraparound plus the
OMG.
ultimate down onto World 6. The clone from Luck will get taken down, but here comes a full
Yeah,
fledged
they'll
fight.
lose
Great
this fight
ultimate coming
100%.
out
There's
from
no
Ryan,
way
trying to lock
OMG
down
wins
as
this
many
fight,
members as
right?
possible. OMG getting taken down.
Yeah.
Condi's in the back lines. He takes out SMLZ. Now Cool, he's going to be in a little bit of trouble here. Takes a lot of damage, but OMG slowly losing this team fight. There's a double kill going on over towards Condi, and what a clean
That's
fight coming from
disastrous.
TWE.
And that's what Team WE needed about 2 minutes
That's
ago.
kind of
They
sad.
finally pulled
I
the
like
trigger on
OMG,
it,
but
get
that's just a
Maokai
team thing,
involved,
right?
and
That
look
they're
for
just
the
not a
big
proper team.
5v5.
They
That's
have
where their
they
composition
have
thrives.
all the
OMG tried
combinations
to
they
keep
would
them
have
spread
ever
out,
wanted and
1v1.
asked
And
for.
will look to contest this Baron.
To just be able
TW
to
looking to try and
zone
take
them
this one
from
down.
mid,
CL
to
now
walk
trying to get in
and use
towards
it,
that pit.
like use
Cool.
it as,
He's
like just
immediately
be a unit.
exhausted as soon as he gets
But
over the
no,
wall there. The
they're
Fizz is
just
trying to do
losing
his
the
best.
game.
Missing. Jumps out.
But
He's
that's a
able to
good
take
point
down
from
Cool.
World Elite.
The Baron is getting low, but
That's
it gets
something
spotted away.
that's something
It's
to
going to be
you
taken
can
out by
point towards World
Condi,
Elite
and they
and saying that's
secure the
your
lane.
that's a
Driver C, we're
really
gonna go
good
for
from you because
perfect.
they recognized from the very beginning what
That's
their comp
unfortunate. I say
was,
beautiful timber
what they
fans.
wanted
I'm
to do,
assuming that it's
and what they
WE's barn,
absolutely needed to do,
OMG's
which
barn.
was
So
hold that
unfortunately
mid
for
wave,
WE, or
hold the
excuse me,
door,
OMG, and then from there
hold the
it's just
door,
the 5
the
v 5
multiple
composition
doors,
running
aka
forward.
towers,
Splits OMG right down the middle right
and
there.
they were able to do it.
Cool moving down the
Tempered
middle.
WE. It's just this.
In there.
God, it's
And now they're gonna
OMG
lead this
Not
bot
good.
wave. So this
Just
should
like
be
that,
game,
TW
honestly.
swung this
And
game in there.
look at the goal difference. Honestly, goal difference doesn't mean that much to a certain degree, but that was a pretty wide margin. And so people who say that Victor is a good pick, now it's not a Victor thing. It's more of a jungle thing, honestly. Um, the Graves was a bit greedy, I think, in my opinion. I think Graves was greedy. You can, they built a composition where they were all chained to their towers. Every single one of them. They built a comp where they're like, oh, please don't dive us. Oh, please don't do that. It would be very bad if you decided to use your Fizz, Rek'Sai, and Bard to dive us under turret. And they were
Thankfully,
like, alright, we won't
3,000
do it,
gold
buddy.
up ahead of
We got
OMG.
your
But this
back.
is such classic Team WE. It's just this really weird. It's like a.
It's not
It's like a
weird. It's
train.
just,
And
it's how they
it
wanted
gets
to
going
play
kind
from
of
the
slow, but
start.
once
And
it has its
that's,
momentum, it just crashes over.
Yeah, that sounds like a
yeah,
metaphor from
it's
OG.
how they wanted to
That
play
also
from the
sounds like
start.
an
It's just
awful
really
joke, to be
greedy.
honest. Here we go.
Mystic, he's going to
But
get
they were
chunked
given
out
it.
as soon as this
They were
fight
given that
starts. Fizz is going to
opportunity.
pick up that kill immediately. They take the turret down. But look at this. Maokai, he's already gone. Rek'Sai's the only one to fall for OMG here. But Conti, he's dealing so much damage. Bard's going to get taken down. Double kill
Yeah.
coming out for the Victor here.
At this point in
And
the game, there's
still
no way they
triple kill
worldly
for
loses,
this
even though it was
Victor.
an even trade for
Worthwhile
that tower.
trade, but as long as they.
Cool's gonna
So the issue is next can't go anywhere near stands.
So what
Next to Cassie,
can
pretty
OMG do? This
$4,000.
is
Look
an
at the
FF at
damage
20.
coming
Like,
out there
I mean,
from
it's
the
already
Victor.
30
Lucian
minutes.
did not
damage.
But this is an FF situation.
so nothing
Right
too
now, they're
much.
kind of solely
Just
relying on
looking at
Caitlyn to
it,
be the damage dealer in this game, right? And as you can tell, they're even showing
What did
team
he
damage
hit?
dealt in the last
nothing.
team
He
fight.
was dead.
That's because
Hit the
LeBlanc
turret a
can't
couple of
do
times,
anything,
Cool just jumped
and
in.
I know,
Fizz
I'm
can just
actually
get locked
concerned about
down
how you
and
do
made
48 damage to
useless.
champions
So
this
if
late
Fizz
in
is
the game. He's
useless,
got 3 items.
Put
if
his weapon down.
LeBlanc
That's
is
what I'm saying.
useless,
It's like
Rek'Sai.
an ardent blaze.
Rek'Sai, yeah,
Surely
and
it does
Rek'Sai's
more
pretty
damage
good,
than that.
but
Hit Rek'Sai in the
he
face,
has no
almost
damage, of
stats,
course.
reducing
He
it.
has no Titanic Hydra.
But
He
yeah,
has
now
nothing.
look at this. Wow, that's not good for Cool.
Look,
Just
alright,
distortions hit this
this is
time.
a joke.
Continuing.
So,
Like
yeah, this is game.
Left. Look at this. Onto the best of 3
Okay.
series against.
That was unfortunate. You already knew my points from the very beginning. I made them clear. So, overall, OMG had a clear mind. Now, whoever set up these drafts, it's not a drafting problem. Whoever set up the drafts, they knew what they wanted to do, and they actually got them all, pretty much all they wanted. OMG got the draft that they wanted. They wanted to play towards um, having priority in their lanes and using that priority actually pressure mid, pressure side turrets. They can literally go side to side to side to side wherever they wanted, and then peel back your dragons and get those dragons. And if OMG should be so desperate that they walk into to, territory that doesn't belong to them, and they pick a skirmish that they want off of Bard, Rek'Sai. Honestly, you give this composition to any team at the top. You give it you give it to EDG, you give it to Rocks, SKT, whoever. Hell, it doesn't even have to be a top team. You just be a team that just has some balls. Give it to Aime, and they will use that comp for what it's meant for. This is just a team play thing. They didn't. OMG doesn't have proper team play right now. I think it's hard to say that they'll be able to make playoffs. So they have a lot to grow. Maybe this is a one game thing, but that was pretty frustrating to watch from the side because they had the game and they gave the game away to the greediest composition. But World League knew how to use it. So thank you for watching. Video is pretty much 50 minutes long. I appreciate it and thank you. Goodbye.